Hey guys, welcome to another episode of All Bass Creations Effects Tutorials, Demos, and Review. So, today we're actually going to be recreating the synth bass rather, from Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. So, for these purposes, we're going to use the Future Impact. Let me bring this up a bit. Yeah, for these purposes, we're going to use the Future Impact, all right? So, let's go and get started here. So first thing you're gonna need is a nice saw wave, which we already got queued up here. Let's see. So with this particular unit, you'll see this oscillator here, oscillator section on the very far left. So we got a sawtooth there. We're gonna bring it up in the VCF mixer, as well as we're going to bring it up here in the main mixer. So not quite synth bass yet. Let's bring this up. So we start there and then we'll drop it down. Really get into that synth bass territory. All right. So next, we'll also add let's do this. Let's make this first one. We'll make this first one a square wave. Now we in All right. So now we'll also come and add a saw wave up an octave. We'll put that about halfway. So put this at 62. So we getting there, starting to get there. Got to work with this filter a bit more. So when you come over to the filter, we're actually going to drop the filter all the way down. Like that. We need to work with this ADSR for the filter a bit. So we got that. We're going to put this on 68. Add a little bit of that filter interacting. Now we're really starting to get there. Gonna need a little bit more resonance. There we go. So we're gonna put the resonance at 16. So the key is to just, you're working it. You're working it slowly, We're working our way to getting this. And actually, I would say let's bring this back some. So now let me bring this. Getting there. So we got to bring this filter up a bit. The sustain. So we're going to put the sustain of the filter around 49. So it doesn't take long. With this Future Impact, it's an extremely, it's just an amazing pedal. What's going on, folks? If you have any questions, feel free to ask. So we just got a few little more elements I want to go through and add to this. Hopefully this is, let me make sure this is, things are moving on the screen here. Sometimes, I don't know, once I get it started, sometimes it likes to act up. Let me see something. Okay, it's moving with me. All right, long as it's moving with me, all right, we good. So, yeah, we ain't necessarily, this ain't karaoke hour. I'm not taking song requests right now. I'm literally have a topic for it. Yeah, people funny. You'll have a topic for something, and they'll come and ask you to play something that like this is a karaoke hour or something. Like I'm recreating a sound in particular. It's literally the topic of it. But I do appreciate you watching. Hit that like button for me while you're here, and subscribe if you already aren't subscribed. So we're going to take this LFO here. This is going to allow us to have a bit of vibrato when we want on the sound. Add that delay and a little bit of, probably put this around like 75. So when I wanna so I even got a bit of that in there. And the last little bit I would add for this would probably be some portamento. So put that on 10. I like to set this to time and legato. Okay, so almost there. Let's go down here to the overdrive section. I like to turn the overdrive on. And even if I'm not going to use a whole lot of it, just add a little bit of warmth to it, Come over here to the EQ section. We're going to add some bottom to it. A slight little cut around 5. Slight little boost. So that's literally in the entire sound right there. You know, it doesn't. The thing about the Future Impact, it does not take long to get to these sounds. Like, and when you go to play with the actual bass, it's going to sound the exact same. The majority of the Future Impact bass synth pack that I created was created using my actual bass, not the keyboard. You know, only reason I'm playing the keyboard right now, if you're not familiar with me, you just joining me, is because I'm taking a little bit of time off of my bass. Had a little bit of injury to my fingertip, but I have been performing on bass, you know, once a week still, you know, and it's getting a lot better. So don't worry, I'll be back with the bass in my hands in the next week or two. So, but while you're here, make sure you hit that like button for me. Make sure you subscribe and do all that for me. I definitely appreciate y'all hanging with me. So even with a sound like this, right? So that's the sound right there overall, you know. But just with some minor tweaks, you can easily make this a whole different bass sound. You can bring up this filter cutoff. You can also choose to link these together. Just getting funkier and funkier with it. So you can just get stupid, funky, just changing the filter cutoff. These are all options you would be able to change live on the Future Impact as well. So, you know, that's just the filter cutoff. So I wanted the sound to have a little bit more dynamics. I can also add some accent to it. Or if you want it, you can add some more resonance. But the more resonance you add takes some away some of the bottom. Then on top of that, from there you can make that brighter or less bright. You can bring this decay up. You can bring some of this attack up on the filter. Let's bring this down. You can really just make a bunch of funky bass synths on accident. I'm actually going to save that one right there. I kind of like that right there. And I'm going to make some variations of that too. Let's put that on 84. Let's make this 2. And it even works as a lead sound. If you want that filter to reset more. So it just gives you so many bass options, man. Like just changing around different parameters. Even pitch tracking is going to give you a whole different sound. If you wanted that to be a little smoother, you can add some more portamento. You know, and we ain't even mess with the oscillator yet. You know, we just keeping the oscillators the same. But we could, you know, add more pitches. We can have something maybe an octave and a fifth above that, like a triangle wave. Let's try that. What's going on, folks? Appreciate you chiming in. Appreciate all y'all. Make sure you hit the like button, whichever platform y'all on. Appreciate y'all over on TikTok and YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and I think that's all we're doing today. You can just get real nasty with the amount of oscillator and oscillator options. Even if I didn't add another oscillator and say I just tweaked the ones that we already had here. Look at that. Just adding a little bit of that triangle wave to that first oscillator. Take some of that portamento off. You can do things like change that square wave to a pulse wave. But I actually like it as a square wave. That was giving a good amount of bottom. And you see how just making subtle changes. I appreciate you, all y'all chiming in over on TikTok. Appreciate y'all showing the love over on YouTube as well. Yeah, you can create pads with this thing as well. You know, I mean, all you gotta do is really create the pictures that you want. So say I wanted to create a pad with this. Just bring these down. Let's actually take some of this. Take some of that filter away. So from here, you're just gonna take this VCO, raise it up. So this is gonna be your root, the top oscillator. I'm going to use a different wave for this. Let's unlink these. Now you got a pad, and you still got a whole nother oscillator on here. Do a little pulse wave here. We're going to do a skinny pulse wave all the way on top. And if we really wanted to get into pad territory, do something like this. Then I would come to the equalizer. I would actually bring this back down and actually give this a bump. You know, add a little. You can make that fade in even slower. also switch the type of filter. Bandpass filter. So you can definitely do pads with the Future Impact as well. Add some noise to that. So I mean, it's just like unlimited possibilities. I definitely appreciate you, Paula. Definitely appreciate that. Thank you. Kia, I appreciate you stopping by as well. What's going on? I mean, I'm not about to do all of that, bro. I mean, I have things I have that I'm playing, bro. I try some stuff that you suggest. I can't do everything that you suggest. You got a lot of options, a lot of stuff you asking there. But so another thing I want to get into now, I want to do some comparing, some comparisons just between. I get a lot of questions about the Enzo X as well. I also have an Enzo X over here. Let me see. Let me switch over. Think this should be there. Yep. So yes, I've tried the Future Impact on bass. That's primarily where I made all the packs and all these sounds. I've primarily done all this stuff on bass. Um, so and it tracks really well. Future Impact and the Enzo X both track extremely well. So just for a comparison, yeah. So just give it. We'll go one and one. How about that? So here's the patch on the Enzo X. And all these are patches that I made. None of these are stock patches. So if you want to check out any of the actual, or you want these presets for your stuff, you can grab all of that. Enzo X got some smooth stuff to it. And it's got that like FM type basses as well, but so it's got some really nice smooth sounds on the Enzo X. Bring that up a bit. Matter of fact, we'll bring it up here. That'll keep them a little more even. Right? Enzo X. Now back to the Future Impact. Mind you, all these sounds are on the Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/allbasscreations and you'll find all these preset packs. Thank you. I appreciate you, Paula, helping me get to all those likes. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you. As well as all the other people that contributed. Thank you. Appreciate that. Got a gift from Paula on TikTok. Let's see what else we got. Well, for one, I want people. Let's talk about the tracking of these pedals on bass guitar real quick. Both of them track well. I think a lot of bass players, where you guys are going wrong with synth pedals, you keep trying to play the synth pedal like it's your bass guitar. It's not. You playing down here does not allow the pedal to track well as you playing in the upper register of the bass. I know y'all don't like that, but that's just with octave pedals. That's with effects and any tracking effects tracks better in the upper register of the bass guitar. And then you just roll off your bass, and either you're gonna, with the Enzo X, you want to boost the low mids, and the Future Impact, you want to boost your high mids. But it's in most octave pedals, you can roll off the bass and boost your high mids. Same thing with the Hog 2. Same thing down here on the floor with the C4 synth. All of these things, in order for them to track well, bass frequencies are slower than higher pitch frequencies. So when you want to be, if you want to be able to really blaze with a synth pedal, you need to be playing in your upper register. It's not even, yes, it will track down to your low B, but ultimately you're doing yourself a disservice by trying to make the pedal play to you. You need to play to the pedal like it's an instrument of its own, not what you want it to be. And then you'll have a much better experience with it. It's the latency isn't a problem, on any of these pedals. Like, I'm sure it's not a problem on most of the modern pedals. A lot of times it's just that you're trying to play in the lower register, which we all know by now from using a million octave pedals, millioness. These pedals do not track well in that frequency. Even the MXR bass synth does not track well in that frequency. Like, it tracks much better in the higher register. All of them do. So if you want to do yourself a favor and you want to get the most out of some synth pedals, bass synth pedals, play in the upper register of your bass. I mean, above the 12th fret. I don't know what else to tell y'all when it comes to tracking. Like, everybody wants, it's other videos of me playing. All the first videos I did of the Future Impact are with me using the bass. And the majority of videos I did with the Enzo X are me using them with my bass. So they track just fine. Do they have little glitches, or are they sensitive? It's not even them. Do they glitch if I make mistakes? Yes. That's not the pedal's fault. That's my fault. You also have to set them up properly. For the Future Impact, what's going to be important is your note on and level and your note off level. Those two parameters are going to, decide when the pedal is triggering and not triggering, right? Then with the Enzo X, you're going to need one of the most important things is that note persists. So you need to change that, So that's a big thing, A lot of people it's almost like you're expecting the pedal to do what you want it to do instead of doing what it's supposed to do. And it's all these pedals, like I said, all of them are good pedals. You can't go wrong with any of them. So Future Impact is just insane, though. If you want now, I will say this. If you want accurate, like vintage bass synths, you're going to want a Future Impact for sure. Like accurate, I'm not going to say vintage bass. I would say if you want that Moog, if you're looking to get those Moog sounds, actual Moog sounds, like this sounds exactly like a Moog and a ARP 2600 at times. This thing gets quite amazing, the Future Impact, in terms of all the vintage analog synths. It models them perfectly. Now, when you get into the Enzo X, it's got some additional features that make it really amazing. The Future Impact also has the additional feature of being able to trigger external synths. So it'll track my bass and it'll allow me to do things like play the sounds on the motif or the sounds I have in main stage, other things like that. And I can also trigger control voltage synths as well, or do things like trigger my blurst. I'll give you a quick example of that. I can trigger. So that's just a raw oscillator waveform I made that I run through. So you can do a lot with the Future Impact and that extra feature of being able to play external synths with it and being able to trigger them. Now with the Enzo X, so you get these like FM type synths as well. So you get these like really dirty, gritty type synths. While still getting some really smooth bass synths out of it too. So he gets some really nice. And all these same sounds, the thing that's cool about both of these pedals, all these same sounds are usable on using your bass. Like, that's crazy. Like the Enzo X, no, you can't trigger external synths with the Enzo X, but you can use it with a keyboard. And that's for me where these two pedals, like, they are killing the market. Like the Enzo X and the Future Impact are the two best bass synth pedals out right now. Not to mention you get polyphony with the Enzo X on stuff. So the Enzo X, you kind of get that like vintage, not just vintage, I would say, you get the polyphonic synthesizer stuff in there. You get the pads, beautiful pads, some really nice bass synth stuff. And all these are stuff that's in the, if you want these sounds, go to the Patreon. You can get both packs for the Future Impact and the Enzo X if you had either one. Nasty. Yeah. Like, that's the nice FM type synth, Get some of those classic type synths. But yeah, Future Impact definitely hits it out the park in terms of the vintage side of the game. You don't even look how small the Future Impact is. First off, this joint is all you need in a MIDI controller, and you can run your entire bass synth, like all the bass synths you need. You don't even need to buy a Moog. You can literally buy one of these and like $100 MIDI controller. Bow. Easy work. Hitting all the new sounds. Well, not even new. Hitting all the vintage sounds, hitting all that stuff pre-programmed. go back. Oh, sorry. There we go. I was like, ain't no way. That's not. I know how. Notice how each unit has its own like sound to it. Future Impact gonna give you that immediate moog sound, you know? Just even the like big bass sounds like that, just crazy work. And it's like you could easily spend a few $1,000 easy work trying to get all these different types of sounds on your board. And the fact that the Future Impact just has them so easily get some nasty sounds with this joint. Mind you, you don't even have to spend the time trying to learn how to program the Future Impact if you don't want to. You can literally go to Patreon right now, download my preset pack. All these sounds are going to be in there. Now, the last few videos I've been doing like recreations of a few Michael Jackson sounds and like the Thriller sound, bass synth sound. as well as the one we did today, Man in the Mirror, which we did earlier. Um, but the Enzo X also have 11 different preamp packs for the Tone X1 pedals. If you're into um, like all the different preamp packs, like if you want a bunch of them, I got in my personal preset pack I have on there, which is my personal list. It'll have 12 different preamps for you there. Stuff like you got your Eden WT DI. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like the Aguilar, Magellan, all that stuff. Yeesh. What we got over here? Ampeg, SGT, DI. We even got the color box right here. Got the color box. Boop. So all that type of stuff is available if you want to use it in your Tonex pedals or software. All that's available on the Patreon. And there's more stuff like that. Little Mark 3. What else we got over there? We got a Jens Band Shuttle 9 2 preamp. Harkey 2 preamp on there. What else we got? We got something else on there. I can't remember. But yeah, check them all out. As well as we got packs for the Zoom pedals, MS70 CDR Plus, as well as the MS60B Plus and the Zoom B6. So check all those packs out over on the Patreon, as well as if you want to support the channel, keep up with updates. I'll also be doing a course on improvisation, you know what I'm saying, and I'll be doing a bass technique course where I'll be teaching all the different bass techniques I use, whether it be two-hand tapping stuff where I'm doing stride bass, so we got a ton of stuff we got coming up. So make sure you subscribe, hit that like button for me wherever you are. Definitely appreciate y'all hanging with me. So let's continue with a few little comparisons here. The Future Impact just got that it just got a big sound to it. So you got just the lead sounds on the Future Impact too are crazy, So, I think I did Flashlight on here too. I think it's 34. So you could pretty much get whatever sounds you want from this thing here, as well as like I said, I just did that Man in the Mirror. And we also did a few synths from the Thriller song from Thriller as well. So it's a sound in the bridge part, right? So it only happens at the bridge where the synth sweeps down. And that's pretty much a good version of that, you know? And we also have the actual bass synth. Is the right one? It's not. No, it's 94. So, and we also even got the so the Future Impact really is just crazy the flexibility. Like all the old vintage bass sounds, you won't really need anything else once you get a Future Impact. And I can honestly say there isn't any vintage analog bass type synth pedal that's gonna touch that right now. It's not. The only thing that's even close is the Enzo X for real. And the Enzo X is really not even the same thing. It's a totally different thing. But it still has its own amazing stuff to it. It doesn't have an EQ like the Future Impact, so I feel like you'll be, I like to add a little. Okay, got a little quick question here. Why does a synthesizer need pedals? Is it more convenient or does it add new possibilities at the synths? So, yes, it adds a ton of new possibilities. I can give you a very quick example of how. Just one thing is the filter. So, let's go. Let's find a nice oscillator form. Empty oscillator. So I programmed a few oscillators into the Future Impact preset pack, that I have on the Patreon. So if you want to just add external filters, like the internal filter is disabled. That's literally just the oscillators, right? Now I can add different filters. So I just added a six pole low pass filter. Something like the baseballs. So, it just gives you plenty of extra options. All I'm using is the oscillators from the Future Impact, right? So, and different filters. Also like the blurst. So the different filters definitely add different things, as well as even if it's not the filters, you got different modulations you may want to add. Say I wanted to add the spectrum, so the Future Impact oscillator that you heard, this let's pick something really aggressive like this. Yeah, these filters completely change everything, and they're way different than the one. The filters sound, really change the sound and the organic feel of the oscillators. Wow, when you add something like I just kicked on some chorus from the TC Electronic X1 without it. Now, does the Future Impact have chorus and a filter in it? Yes. But, sometimes I would like to use different modulations. Or different filters. I may want to use. That changed the whole sound. Without it, with it. So yeah, they changed the sound completely. Phaser. So, and as well as the Enzo X has a bunch of stuff in there as well. Has chorus, phaser, tremolo, vibrato, you know, anything I'm missing from there. So if I'm not, it also has delays, reverbs, filters, three different filters. And, one of them, which is a Moog style filter, similar to the one that's in the Future Impact. But all these different elements add different things, So, and most of this, keep in mind, also, most of this stuff is to make my bass sound like different stuff in general. So it's not really that this is a synthesizer by itself. It's that this is just another way of me getting to sounds quickly, and authentically, with the Future Impact and the Enzo X. Now, as a bass player, which one am I going to recommend the most? That's real tough. That's real tough for a lot of reasons. One, the Enzo X has stuff like this. Let me get on. Let's get to some pads. Another one of my favorite pads. And this is it by itself. You can bring that pad down. You can pick a brighter. So as you can see, the Enzo X just got some. Another one of my little favorite players. So destructive. So you can be here with it, right? You can be there with it. But then you can just destruction because it's got a ring modulator in there too. Woo! That's the strings with it. This the Enzo X by itself. Take some strings and you got a movie. crazy is none of that is the pipe organ sound. Like only thing coming from the motif is the string sound. The rest of that is effects and the Enzo X. Shoot. Most of that a lot of that extra orchestral sounds you're hearing are coming from the male nine and the key nine, like as well as the line six. You got I'm using the Zoom MS70 CDR Plus for the tri-chorus, which is the same, sounds pretty much identical to the one on the actual Tisa electronic pedals. So very fortunate. So I'm running all that, into and separating it, so the key nine, the male nine are only coming through the right side, while Enzo X is coming through both. And so is the string sound. So it just like spreads it out. So a lot of the effects are actually doing a lot of the heavy lifting right there. So, these are just some things you can experiment with when you have like things like the Enzo X and the Future Impact. They kind of inspire new things, or even get you access to old inspiration. Sounds you might have grew up on in the case of the Future Impact. While the Enzo X is kind of like all fresh, brand new synth sounds. So when you take that and combine that with stuff like the key nine, which sounds like a male nine, a Meltron rather, and the key nine, which emulates EPs and different things like that, but not quite. It gives you like those little extra. Even if I wanted add some male strings. the extra pedals definitely help you get to different sounds that just the keyboard by itself or just these synth pedals by themselves can't get you to. Yes, they have a chorus, they have a flanger, a phaser, and things like that built into them, modulation wise, delay and reverb. But for one, they're not going to be as flexible as the standalone pedals typically. But the ones on the Enzo X are actually amazing. It's just that chorus doesn't sound like the TC Electronic chorus, or doesn't sound like other choruses I like. Since every chorus does not sound the same way every preamp or EQ does not sound the same. Every compressor does not sound the same. So this Empress compressor sounds completely different than that Atlas compressor. And that Atlas compressor actually does an amazing job at emulating the analog, and tube preamps in there, solid state as well, different compressors rather. So as well as it's an EQ. So, you get a ton of different types of compressors with that Atlas compressor, and it's a stereo compressor. It's one of the few stereo compressor pedals. So you don't have to buy two pedals and run them in parallel. You literally can just use them both at the same time. So both left and right channels, so I would recommend definitely trying out some pedals, filter pedals, analog. I tend to go for analog filters, but I do like the Spectrum a lot, in terms of its flexibility. But I would say if you're going to get a Spectrum and you're playing bass, you might as well get a C4 synth. If you get a C4 synth, you might as well get a Future Impact. I mean, so you gotta take all these different things into consideration, because it's not necessarily cheap to get these pedals. I do pay for all of these pedals personally myself, so it's not like I'm getting paid to endorse the Future Impact or push that. I just really like the Future Impact. I think it's an amazing pedal. Along with any pedal you see up here, it's in my lineup for a reason. Even the ones you see that's off to the side there, they're in the lineup for a reason. I just don't take my analog preamps out the house anymore. I just take my Tone X1. And if you want any availability to all my different preamps that I have on there, say you don't want to buy an AG preamp, a SGTDI, a Eden WTDI, and all that extra stuff, you can just go to the Patreon, download the preamp packs on there. And, the Future Impact, same thing. Future Impact, Enzo X, Zoom MS70 CDR Plus, Zoom MS60B Plus, and the Zoom B6 all have preset packs already on the Patreon. So if you have any of those pedals, you can go right there. You can, also the Color Box preamp is on the Tone X1. Color Box by itself is what? 4 something. So just going on there, doing that, getting a Tone X1 and getting the individual preamp packs will save you a ton of time. And I will say the Tone X1 is indistinguishable between the two. Like, you really can't tell the difference between the actual analog preamps and the actual Tone X1. So that's a huge bonus for you, because look how much space that saves you on your pedal board versus trying to get all them analog ones. So not that I use my analog ones in the studio still. That's why they sit in the studio. When I need them, they're right there. But in terms of pedal board space, you see how big, see how chunky that is? That's a lot of pedal board space right there. That's a lot of pedal board space. Compared to a Tone X1. So, just little things you can keep in mind when you're looking at different pedals. You weighing your pedal board options, coming up with synth sounds or whatever. The budget is important. But like, I didn't buy all these at once. This is years. This is like 10 years worth of pedals over time. So don't feel bad if you only got 1 or 2 pedals. You don't have a whole collection yet. You'll get there. Give yourself some time. And to be honest, like I don't take all these pedals all the time. This is my main gigging pedal board here with, it just has my octave. This is my favorite octave pedal, the Hog 2. My favorite analog filter here, the Blurs. And I got the Plethora X1, which functions as modulations, reverbs, delays, and pitch shifting and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I mostly use it for the modulate or the chorus and the chorus vibrato and the shimmer reverb on there is amazing as well because shimmer reverb. So the shimmer reverb on there is just crazy too. So you got a lot of options. Plus, you could just beam stuff into this TC electronic pedal. It's pretty cool. So I reckon. Oh, octave pedals. In terms of octave pedals, I do love the Poly Blue and the OC5 as well. They just you got to make sacrifices on there, and I'm going to use the Future Impact and the Enzo X a lot more when I'm doing loops and stuff. And I'm going to use the Hog 2 a lot more when I'm soloing and creating like pads from the bass sounds because while these synth sounds are amazing, I still like to create sounds from my actual bass sound. So the Hog 2 is the perfect thing for that. It gives me a lot of flexibility in there, and it's polyphonic as well. So I can play chords, I can solo is really fast tracking, even though that pedal came out like it had to be 10, 15 years ago that the Hog 2 came out. They need to come out with a Hog 3. That's what I'm waiting for. They came out with the Pog 3, but they ain't come out with the Hog 3 yet. That's what I'm waiting for. Hopefully they will. Maybe they won't. But, yeah, feel free to comment. Hit that like button for me. Subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more of this type of stuff. And I promise I'll be doing this a lot more frequently. And eventually, when I start doing things like ambient afternoon again, when I get back to full playing health on my bass, that stuff's going to go under the memberships and under the Patreon and stuff. So make sure you go to the Patreon, subscribe there, and check out all my preset packs over there again. And if you want to just help the channel out, you can do that there. Now, if you want to get me to check out the MXR bass synth a little faster, you can send something through the Cash App. Just put MXR bass synth on there. And as a matter of fact, the Future Impact was sponsored, about 50% sponsored by one of the channel members, by Neo Lover 23, who I always appreciate, always shout out every time I do the Future Impact videos because he didn't have to help me get that pedal so I can do these reviews for you guys because nobody was covering the Future Impact and he really pushed it for weeks, and so if you like me to get these pedals a little faster because like I said, I'm not endorsed, I'm buy these pedals because I like them or I want to review them for you guys so I can give you an honest review. So if you want a real honest review of that pedal or any other pedal, along with your suggestion, go ahead and send something to that Cash App. I prefer the Cash App over the Super Chat, but, that's up to you. Whatever you're more comfortable with. But if you want to check out my original music, where I did an entire album using my bass and effects, you can check that out on allbasscreations.bandcamp, as well as there's songs on there that I played everything on it. All the songs on there except for 2 songs I played everything on it. So, one album is all bass and just effects, no MIDI at all, no synthesizers, just MIDI and effects, transforming my bass to different sounds. And, the other singles, I either have a couple drummers on there or I'm playing drums myself. So, yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on right now. Make sure y'all check me out on the social media platforms all over at the Bass Nagus. Negus. Again, that's at the Bass Negus. If you want a better view over on from TikTok, if you want to see everything we got going on the screen when I'm working with the software and stuff, you can head over to YouTube and subscribe there. But all right, guys, this has been another episode of All Bass Creations, Effects, Tutorials, Demos, and Review. I am the Bass Negus. I hope you have a wonderful day. Catch you next time. Peace.